If you've been scrolling through endless rows of gaming laptops, feeling the tug between bigger screen, faster CPU, and portable enough to carry to a coffee shop, you're not alone. That indecision can end up with a machine that either sits dusty in a corner or burns out your budget before you've even logged in. This review is meant to cut through the hype and let you see whether the HP Victus 15.6 really fits the life you're planning to put it through. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. First off, let's talk about the kind of gaming you're actually doing. If your sessions revolve around titles like *Valorant*, *Fortnite*, or *Apex Legends*, games that value high frame rates over ultra-high resolution, the 144Hz IPS panel paired with the RTX 5060 really shines. In everyday play, you'll be pulling well over 80 frames per second at 1080p on medium to high settings, which feels buttery smooth on that 15.6-inch screen. The anti-glare coating also means you can keep the laptop on a desk next to a window without constantly tweaking the brightness. Now, contrast that with someone who spends evenings in the deep dive worlds of Cyberpunk 2077 or Elden Ring at ultra settings. The RTX 5060, while a solid mid-range card, will start demanding you drop textures or lower ray tracing options to stay above 60 frames per second. That's not a deal-breaker, but it's a hidden trade-off. You're paying for a sleek chassis and a 1TB SSD, but you'll still be compromising on visual fidelity if you chase the absolute maximum, knowing that the Victus makes sense when you value a balance between performance and price, rather than the absolute top tier. The heart of the machine, an AMD Ryzen 7 3500 AI processor, comes with a base clock of 2.0 GHz and a boost that pushes it well into the 4 GHz range when the workload spikes. In practice, you'll see the CPU handling the game loop without stutter, but you'll also feel the boost when you switch to multitasking, say, launching Discord, a web browser, and a recording app while you game. That's where the 16 GB of DDR5 5600 RAM adds real muscle. The DDR5 speed gives quick response times, so loading screens feel a shade faster, and background tabs don't compete for bandwidth. If you're the type who likes to stream your gameplay and keep a video editor open at the same time, those 16 GB will save you from the dreaded out-of-memory pop-ups you see on older, 8 GB laptops. Storage is another practical win. A 1TB PCIe Gen 4 NVMe SSD not only means you can install a hefty library of games without constantly pruning, but it also translates to sub-second load times. I timed a fresh install of Assassin's Creed Valhalla and the initial load hit around 0.8 seconds, fast enough that you barely notice the wait. That speed also shines when you're moving large files, like recorded footage or a batch of mods. The downside: the laptop doesn't come with an extra M.2 slot, so if you ever need more space, you'll be looking at an external enclosure or swapping drives, which isn't as convenient as a dual-bay setup. Portability is a frequent point of debate with 15-inch gaming rigs, and the Victus lands in an interesting middle ground. Weighing in at just over 5 pounds, it's lighter than many older gaming laptops that sit at 6 pounds or more. You can comfortably slip it into a backpack for a commute, but the 15.6-inch chassis still feels solid on a lap. The hinge has a decent tilt range, letting you angle the screen for better viewing angles without wobbling. However, the laptop isn't ultra-thin. At roughly an inch deep, it won't slide into a slim sleeve. If you're planning to travel with it frequently, expect to pack it in a padded bag, not a thin sleeve. Connectivity is where the Victus modestly exceeds expectations. Besides the usual USB-C and USB-A ports, you get a full gigabit Ethernet jack, which is a relief for those who game on a wired network. The 22 Wi-Fi 6E module also means you can take advantage of newer routers for low-latency wireless play when you're not near a router port. Bluetooth 5.3 covers the standard peripherals, controllers, headsets, and even the occasional wireless mouse. The only inconvenience I noticed is the placement of the HDMI port. It's on the far left, so you'll need a right-hand cable management strategy to avoid a tangled mess. Who should walk away from this notebook? If you're a hardcore esports competitor who needs the absolute highest frame rates at the highest settings, you'll likely outgrow the RTX 5060 sooner rather than later, and a higher-tier GPU would be a better long-term investment. Also, if you habitually keep a mountain of games installed and crave an internal expansion slot for future upgrades, this model's single SSD bay could feel limiting. On the flip side, the Victus is a solid pick for students or young professionals who game a few evenings a week, stream casually, and also need a reliable work machine. The combination of a capable CPU, DDR5 RAM, and Swift SSD gives you the productivity punch you'd